Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, since I've done my video review of the LIDL Monsieur Cuisine Smart, I've been now getting a lot of messages, a lot of you wondering whether I have changed my mind about this machine, whether it's still working, maybe things I found out that now not work properly, anything like that. Basically, you're wondering whether it's still worth buying one of those or not. Well, first of all, to let you know, guys, this is not a sponsored video. I have bought this machine myself, and all my opinions are true, honest opinions of the machine. So as I said, I have purchased this machine approximately 3 months ago. In fact, it's pretty much, I think, to the date of today, that it's been 3 months. And I have been putting this through phases. I haven't been using this on a daily basis, but I've got to say, I've used it more than any other machine I currently own. And secondly, I've got to say that it's now deserved a space in a corner on my countertop in the kitchen. And I'm very selective to what lives on my countertops. Generally, I like to hide things away, but this guy certainly have deserved a place in the corner. So let's start with the original, the aesthetics and generally unit itself. As I said originally, guys, it was very easy to clean because it's very sleek. There's not many sort of nooks and crannies there for the dirt to hide. It's very easy. Display, I had my original concerns of display being a little bit shiny and a little bit fingerprinty. But to be fair, after using this, it's actually not really that bad. If your fingers and hands are clean, it doesn't really stain that bad. It does a little bit, but then it's easy to be wiped and it's absolutely fine. One thing I've got to say about the display is the little timer section, not section, but it pops up, which might pop up soon, to let you know it basically goes into the sleep mode. And it really irritates me because, well, if I'm watching the sleep mode, I just turn it off. But yet it just comes on there. You can activate it, but it goes off itself. But somewhat it annoys me because it always comes on in a wrong time just as soon as I approach the machine. But this is really not a problem. It's just a teeny weeny small irritant. Right, the second part, which is teeny weeny bit annoying for me, right, I sometimes struggle to get this out of here. And for some reason, I feel like it's got a little bit stiffer of getting this out. I understand they've got rubber things like underneath, everything sort of have to sit tightly together to be waterproof because obviously it's got the connectors there. I understand that. But for some reason, I just find it just that little bit harder. Saying that as well with the lid, and I did say to you before, the lid locks really nicely. It still locks very nicely and it makes a sound when it does. What I found, and I think I mentioned this in my original review video, when the content is hot, it makes it just that much harder to lift the lid because of the vacuum. But again, this is normally ununderstandable. But one thing I can't get my head around is this little top lid, right? It's got a little noggin into there, but you basically twist it and you kind of lock it. The amount of times, right, I picked up a lid and naturally when you're cooking something, you want to pick it up, I turn it upside down, put it down, and this thing falls out, okay? I don't know what is it. It got to be myself because I'm not locking this all the time, but it feels loose, like it's in there, right? But it's loose, but it's locked. But for some reason, I think I just always forget to lock it. And the amount of time that thing dropped on the floor, it honestly has been horrendous. But the positive point, it hasn't actually snapped. I've experienced something before with my other food processors. They had little lids to go inside to cut something, if that makes sense, like a holding thing. I dropped it on the floor first time and it's cracked. So this guy, I've got to say, it's dropped a lot and it's still a-okay. So apart from that, as a generally, it's okay, everything's fine. So secondly, or thirdly, I have not registered the machine to the internet. I have no intentions of doing so. Unfortunately, the little pop-up still comes in saying, oh, you know, if you want to register or sign in, whatever, I have to skip it. Ideally, I just wanted to get rid of that altogether. Just don't ask me again. But I don't think I can do this. Again, not a major problem, but if you put the machine on, I just want to get to it, but it's not. Loading time, it takes 2 seconds. Some people say it takes a little bit too long. I don't see a problem with that. If I know I'm going to be cooking something, I flick it. I let it do its job, what I'm preparing. There's no problem at all. Right, so now, we're going through the options again. So scales, right, goes without saying. Scales are scales, it's absolutely fine. I don't use them as a scales for if I'm cooking something somewhere else. But of course, if I'm using it here, it's great. Because you can jump into scales at any point of your recipe. You just go in there, press scales, and quite often on any other display, the scales button there, so you can just put it on there and add on the required amount, which is, I think is brilliant. And it's, to me, it's more important than probably some of you think, especially if you're like me and you like to experiment with the recipes and write things down, you roughly want to know what you put in it and have the ability of doing this there and then, I think is very good. So kneading. As I said before, kneading was a laborsome and rather loud experience. And I gotta say, this is one thing I stopped using this for majority of the times. If I'm doing a little bit of pastry, like a short crust pastry, I'll do that. Bread dough, I do not use that for that anymore. I found it, because there's no control of the way it kneads, okay, the speed is there and they're just doing that. I found with certain flours, it overworks the dough because it's been a little bit too harsh. So I've reserved of using my Kenwood stand-in mixer. There's got a dough hook attachment. I can control the speed, okay, and I can then deal with the dough manually. Although, of course, you can pre-do the dough here and then still knead it manually. But to me, I found it's just too much hassle, okay, because the dough splits into the pieces when it's there, and then they're just job of getting this out and then clearing the machine out. So for that, only for this specific pastry, the bread, I'm reverted to using that, which is fine by me. It's my personal choice. Nonetheless, it still will do your dough, your bread dough, absolutely fine. It's just in the certain flours, if it's overworked, it's not good. Right, the adaptive cooking, right? This is the go-to. This is, to me, I think this thing is absolutely genius, right? So adaptive cooking is basically where you have ability to change every single thing, including the temperature, the timer, the speed of the blades, and the direction of the blades. And I've done many things in here, many things. I even gone to the stage where I replace my grater with that, because no, it's not really going to be grating it, which you can if you buy an attachment, which I would like to buy. It just been lazy. Things like cheese, for example, I just put the cheese in there for something like, say, mac and cheese, where you need grated cheese, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to be melting that. So I use that, and it works really well. It comes up like a crumb, but again, it doesn't matter. I wanted to do a beetroot salad with the walnuts and some cheese, and again, I felt at the time I didn't want to grate the beetroot and get my hands dirty, so I've put it in there and I just let it do the work. Okay, it's not grated it, but again, it's made it into small enough pieces that texture-wise, shall I say, it didn't really make that much difference to the salad, but it worked. It saved me time and it saved me red fingers. So you can do, and if you think outside the box, you can do a lot with that. And this is why I really love that part. Right, so browning. Okay, again, I use that a lot. I've been making a lot of beef pies and the chicken pastries, like rapower pastries. And the browning thing is great. And it's no two ways about it. It's self-explanatory. You basically put the heat on and it browns, okay? You can control the time, okay, and you control the temperature. It's still hard to get this right in terms of the simmering point, if that makes sense, or the browning point, because the temperature is in degrees Celsius. But when you normally brown something in a frying pan, you don't know the temperature of the frying pan to kind of match that. So that takes a little bit of time of getting used to, and you can turn this down instantly. It's not a big deal. You can't really go wrong because it starts really quickly. It starts browning quickly, so you can always turn it down, okay? And the beauty of that, again, because you have the rotation on the bottom, that means you don't have to stand there and watch it. Although saying that again, the teeny thing, because of the way the blades are located and the height between them, I found that sometimes if the pieces of the meat are just about the right size, they get stuck right under the blade, right? There'll be one, they'll get stuck right under one blade. So when the blades rotate, that piece of meat just gets stuck underneath it and it doesn't go. So you have to check it sometime and maybe sort of poke it out. Only out of the Murphy's Law, there'll be one. They'll just be identical size. They just get wedged in there. But generally, the function is very good. And as I said, it just works well. It works well, takes a bit longer than the frying pan purely because of the surface area to what you do, but the whole idea, you add all your stuff afterwards and it works absolutely fine. Right, the steam function, it comes with a steaming basket like I've showed you on the previous video. Again, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the fact what I love about it, even more so, is because you have the basket that goes inside and then two layers of steaming levels, the basket that goes right inside, just above the water, it really speeds up say if you're doing the potatoes, because it's so close to the surface of the water and it's enclosed by the sides and the lid, it really, really makes like things like potatoes or anything else you steam and that's a bit dense, it really makes it cook that much quicker. And because the other two are obviously slightly above when you put things like a fish or vegetables, it kind of works together time-wise, which I think absolutely brilliant, and I do love that idea. So steam is still, it's perfect. For me, it's great. Cooking eggs, I said this to you then, guys, it made a perfect egg, and it makes perfect eggs all the time. It did say to you that you have to have your fridged egg. I've done this without the fridged egg because you don't really meant to keep the eggs in the fridge. But all I've done, I just reduced the timing by 2 minutes rather than 10 minutes. It's done on 8 minutes, and it created the same perfect result. Sous vide I didn't do. Slow cook, again, absolutely brilliant. I've done my pies, fillings in there. It worked really well. Steak and kidney works really, really well. Everything about the slow cooking is it's just natural. You put it on, put a slow cook. Originally, it does the blade go round and then it stops majority of the time. I would like it to mix a little bit more often, or I would like it to have an option where I can put the blades on to mix it when I feel I need it to be mixed. Of course, you can open the lid and do this by hand, but the whole idea, you kind of just want to operate it from here. But generally, it works well, with a tiny bit disadvantage that I would like to turn it on and off when I want to do it. Otherwise, it works well. It works rather fast. One thing, don't make a mistake like I did when I put the kidneys too early, and I had to add on a second lot of kidneys in the steak and kidney filling because they pretty much disintegrated over the long period of time. So next one, okay, we've got the ferment, which I haven't used. Again, I have no need for that. And then we've got the turbo function, which is, again, this is what you can use as a chopping, crushing ice, do many things. It's just super fast. The only thing, like last time, is to be physically be aware how fast those blades go, how sharp those blades are. They only takes like a second, and you can puree something you wanted to chop, so be careful of that. A puree, again, I don't use the puree function for the potato. It's just no. To me, it doesn't work. I don't like the texture of the potato. Anything that's mechanically touches the potato or mechanically produced or processed potato turns into slime. And I've said to you before, I've seen people doing this. They'd be more liquidy. They're snotty. It's not something I suggest to do with a potato. If you like a true mashed potato, do not put that with the blades. It just creates the kind of beats up the starch together. It's slimy. It's horrid. I don't like it. Probably personal choice, but the fact is you can puree anything else that you want. This is absolutely fine, just not the potato. The smooth is pretty much the same as blades going around. There's no difference there. I think it's just there as a quick function, preset, go and smooth, that's fine. And then we've got the pre-rinse, which is good, again, if you want to rinse stuff off, especially behind the blades. But again, I used this once, I don't see the point. You take it out after you cooked it, you clean it, and it's fine. Everything disassembles together, blades come out, you can easily clean it, it's no problem at all. And then a note just on the downside as well. When I said to you guys about the blades moving, or what option for have blades moving when you use the slow cook, I would like to also at the same time to stop blades moving when I'm using the adaptive cooking. So I've done some ribs, the pork ribs, and because it doesn't do pressure cooking, I didn't want them to be slow cooked, because slow cook has got a preset temperature of, I think, maximum 90 degrees. I didn't want to wait that long for the ribs to cook, because I then was going to be putting them in the oven. So I wanted to use adaptive cooking, and I did, because with the adaptive, I can still turn the temperature up, just maybe by 5 or 10 degrees above slow cooking, and still get the similar results. But with the adaptive cooking, the blades are continuously going. So if you can imagine, when I put a bunch of ribs in there, of course, they started to make a lot of noise. I'm like, scary, you know, because obviously blades and the bones kind of going around and hitting the stainless steel. The beauty of that, actually, it hasn't even scratched that, which is, I was rather surprised, but at the same time rather happy, because I thought, well, I didn't really want to ruin the new machine. But the point is, right, with the adaptive cooking, I want to be able to preset my temperature and turn off the blades going around. So if I do want to leave my ribs there, slightly higher temperature to boil, then I want to be able to do so. And that doesn't seem to give me option to do that. So that's that really, guys. That covers the all of the options here. As I said, I'm not bothering with their recipes at the moment. I've just been putting it through. I've been doing what I want to do with it, trying to find the alternative ways of using it, like as a grater. Apparently, as I said, you can buy an attachment that goes on the top, and you can grate things, which I want to purchase from them. I think it's only done online. but nonetheless, it replaced a lot of the things there. So all in all, right, I don't know whether you can still buy them. I suppose you can. That's why many people are asking the questions. But it's, to me, it's worth it. It's worth it now. Used it for so many times. It saves time, and yes, the results like grating or chopping not identical. But when you're short on time, or you just can't be bothered getting your hands covered in beetroot, just let the machine do the work and just accept the consequences will be slightly different, or results, in fact. But other than that, there's nothing really bad I've got to say about that. So I'm hoping I'm not going to say anything bad about it in the next 6 months or year or two. So there we are. Anyway, guys, well, I hope you have enjoyed this video, or in fact, hopefully you find this helpful. Don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.